to talk about this Niners win over the Raiders. Whew, that was a nail biter. Stay tuned.
Rise up. Yee! We getting it, boy.
What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Your baller back again. Smells like football season. Yo. Whoa, whoa.
What up, fellas? Glad to be back talking ball. Niners had a big time win, overtime win, 37-34. But first off, fellas, I was watching this Monday night football game tonight, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking what I saw. Prayers for DeMar Hamlin completely just changed my mood. But I'm glad I got my buddies here to talk with and talk through this thing with. Jay, let's start with you. How you feeling tonight? It's not your average Monday night with what we saw transpired on the field.
Yeah, it was honestly terrifying to see. I saw the play live, and it looked like a regular tackle. It didn't look like a like a bone crushing helmet to helmet hit. Didn't look like anything like that. And DeMar, obviously prayers to him and his family. And I heard that his mom was in the stand, so to see her son like that, that's definitely not something you don't want to wish on your worst enemy. And obviously we've seen a ton of injuries, we've watched a ton of football, but this one just felt different. So obviously, yeah, I'm just hopefully everything works out well with DeMar. And obviously the game was going good up until that point, between two teams that could potentially vie for the Super Bowl this year.
Big
And
time teams, yeah.
yeah, so it was definitely sucks to see. And like I said before, prayers to him and his family, DeMar Hamlin. And yeah, I mean, just gotta hope for the best.
Celts, man, how you feeling?
Yeah, man, I hopped out the shower, man, and I didn't even see it live. So I hopped out the shower and instantly, when I turned it on, I seen people in tears and instantly realized that, this wasn't normal. This was more than just a bone break. And to be honest, my first reaction was, holy crap, is there a shooting or did something happen? I was thinking of the worst because I knew, hey, we've been watching football our whole lives and it just looked like something out of the norm. And once I heard they were doing CPR for as long as they were, I was shook. I was shook to the fullest. And when it comes to a human life, it's just unfortunate. You know, um, and a little lost for words, but instantly started praying, and that's just how I get down. And hey, prayers, 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 man. We got the whole world right now is nothing but prayers. I did hear some news. I did hear, correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody that has any information, I heard that he was intubated. Um, he does have vitals, like his vitals are good. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but he has a breathing tube helping him. Unfortunately, I know about that with my daughter. When she was a baby, she was in a medically induced coma a couple times.
Mm.
And it's a real good sign that his vitals are working, but he does have the breathing tube, and it gives me a little flashbacks. I got a little PTSD hearing those kind of things, but um, God is good, man. God is good, and He is good all the time. And I know you know, prayers are powerful, and I know his hand is on it, regardless the outcome. You know, yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, man, it definitely puts a halt and shifts the mood. Real talk.
No doubt. And obviously, we hope things turn out okay for DeMar. And I'm glad you guys are here with me because you guys are going to give us the escape. You know, hopefully the audience will get some of that too. Where hey, we're talking ball, we're talking Niners, and our thoughts and prayers are with DeMar and his family. So that being said, let's jump into this first topic, fellas. Who are your big time ballers from the 49ers win over the Las Vegas Raiders? And let's start with you, Kelts.
Hey man, I got to give it up to, you know, big time ballers, big time ballers. I love shooting from the hip, but sometimes I'm like, hey man, I need to do more homework on this, but I love to just let it flow naturally. So watching that Purdy, watching the Purdy touchdown pass to George Kittle was reminiscent to the catch. It was reminiscent to Jimmy Garoppolo's first ever touchdown pass as a 49er late in that Seattle Seahawks game, just the whole vibe of it. But it was different. He rolled out to the opposite side compared to Joe Montana with the catch to Dwight Clark. He rolled out to the opposite side. What a freaking throw. And then when I seen Purdy doing the I got ice in my freaking veins, I'm just like, this kid is something special, man. This kid not it's like he's got the swag, but he's got the humble swag. He's got the confidence, but he's smart. He's got, you know, it just feels like this kid has got it all. And then even having the label of the Mr. Irrelevant, I think makes it even better. I think it just makes the story even better that he was picked where he was. And look, man, he did something. I love going back in history. He did something that hasn't been done since 2001, since Jeff Garcia, 2+ touchdown passes in 5 straight games as a San Francisco 49er quarterback. I mean, this hasn't been done in what, 22 years? 22 years we've been waiting to see, you know, I just feel like that's super impressive, man. It just is when you start getting into and then on top of it, the Niners win 9 straight. That's the first time since 97. So I got to give it to Purdy. I mean, I'm going to let you guys, I'm sure someone else is going to say someone else on offense, but defense, you know, that one is a lot more tough, but you know, hey man, I got to give it back up to, I almost want to say Drake Jackson just for the interception, but I got to give it to Bosa regardless of not getting the sacks. He's always getting pressure. He's always doing his dang thing. So I'm going to say Bosa and Purdy, man, are my 2 guys.
There he is. I'm glad you called out because Kelts, when you look through the stat log, Bosa he didn't put up a stat, not a tackle, not a sack. But when you watch the game, we obviously saw how impactful Nick Bosa was. Yeah, he hit the quarterback 3 or 4 times. There was one where he had Stidham wrapped up by his legs, and Stidham managed to just throw the ball out at the last. He actually completed the pass, which was impressive. But Nick Bosa was harassing Stidham all day. And it was just, I thought it was an admiration that he didn't record any stats, but no doubt that man, Nick Bosa, he showed up and had an impact on this game. Jay, big time ballers, who you got?
Hey, I could go in a lot of different directions, but I gotta say, what's good? First to everyone that's in the chat right now. A huge shout out to you guys and gals for joining us tonight, whether you're watching on Straight Out of the Bay YouTube channel, Celts Chronicles YouTube channel, Bay Area Baller 18 YouTube channel, or Jay and the Bay's YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys coming through. You know, my big time baller on offense, I know this is a name that's on the front of everyone's mind. I know, you know, every time we see this player out there, we know that he's going to bring it 110%. And, you know, he's going to dominate the man across from him. And that's Mike McGlinchey.
Whoa.
Mike McGlinchey. Hey,
Caught me off guard there.
look who he was lined up against. Max Crosby. Crosby has 11 and a half sacks. Crosby just got paid. I think this offseason he is one of the higher paid edge rushers, and he is pretty good at his position. He loves to get after the quarterback, but supposedly Max Crosby had like his second worst output as a Raider this season as far as getting after the quarterback. I don't think he didn't have any sacks, and Mike McGlinchey played a clean game. And I just got to give, I got to tip my hat to Double M, man. He showed up and showed out, and hey, he allowed BP to make some plays. And so I got to tip my hat to Double M. He's got to get his praise. We know we criticize him, but hey, when he plays well, let's give him some praise as well. On defense, you could go a lot of different ways. I think Eric Armstead, on the goal line, I think that was a 4th down play where he just threw the guard out the way, took on the fullback, and then brought down Josh Jacobs. I think that was a goal line stand. I think that was in the first quarter, I believe. But Eric Armstead, I thought he played great. Kerry Hyder had a deflected pass that led to an interception. So, I gave it to those two guys on defense. It's funny. The secondary was shaky all game, but then they came up with 2 interceptions. So it's like, but yeah, those are my guys. Mike McGlinchey and Armstead and Hyder. Those are my guys.
I got you. Well, hey, you guys left me the easiest pick, in my opinion. And that's going to be this man right here. Sorry, Celts. Might got to lean to the side a little bit to get in. C-Mac. C-Mac was making plays, right? He was gash. He had a couple long runs of 20 or 30 plus yards. McCaffrey was balling out. And obviously we've seen it. He's the safety blanket. It was for Jimmy G before Jimmy got banged up, and now for Brock Purdy. It's like you look, go through your progressions, you don't see nothing, boom. You hit McCaffrey. He's going to make a guy miss and make something out of nothing a lot of the time. So McCaffrey was spectacular. Let me see if I can pull up his stats real quick right here because, 19 rushes for 121 yards. He averaged over 6 yards a clip. He caught 6 balls for another 72 yards. Christian McCaffrey, he was a beast. And then the other guy I got to mention, because defensively, man, we're going to be talking about this defense in a little bit here. But yeah, I like the names you guys threw out there. Nick Bosa probably would be my pick, but I'm going to go with the second offensive player. And this is man right here, Brandon Ayuk. Let him know, Jay. Yeah, let's show that off. Love that jersey. But Ayuk, fellas, I tweeted this out. Brandon Ayuk runs the slant route as good as any other wide receiver in the NFL. He is just so sudden and so quick. Really, he's just so good at running that route, whether it's anything in breaking, like a slant or a glance or a skinny post. You just see Ayuk. He just wins. He wins on that route. And the 49, Kyle Shanahan loves to call these slant routes. So it's just perfect harmony between those two. And Brock seems to throw it well. On that last drive, I know Robbie Gould missed, he could have ended the game in regulation. But on that drive, it was like slant to Ayuk, slant to Ayuk. So he just kept winning, right? So shout out Brandon Ayuk. Man, this dude, hopefully he gets this 1,000 yards. He's closing in on 1,000 yards for the season. So
like 46 yards away, I think. Like 40 something yards
away.
Right.
Yeah. That sounds right. So hey, let's get him that milestone because that's a big deal when you're a wide receiver and you go over 1,000 yards.
Real talk. Hey, I just want to touch on Ayuk. I was talking yesterday on the show, and I was joking around just to stir the pot. Like I was like, man, this dude, if he has a consistent quarterback for an entire year that could just consistently get him the ball, this man is a top 10 wide receiver, easy. I don't care what stats say, because if his stats were already on that level, then people might be saying, hey, man, I was joking yesterday. Hey, you know what? hey, he's the top 3 receiver. Now what, Faithful? Yeah, I said it. Like, oh, what? Compared to Jefferson, this, that, and the other. But you just really watch his routes, man, and not just the slant, but the double moves, the one little circle move where he comes up, and he's got the route tree locked in, and it's so dope to see how he's evolved mentally and physically. What was it? Just last year, he was in the doghouse, and then he got in a little skirmish with Fred Warner in the beginning of the season. You just see it physically, mentally, spiritually. He's just evolving. He's growing, and it's a tremendous thing to see from Ayuk. Man, I hope he just continues to just keep leveling up, man, because it's great to see.
No doubt. No doubt. And we're still talking Niners and we're talking Raiders. You guys let me know your ballers of the game. But the next question I got, just some additional observations from this game. And let me start it off first. Ray McLeod. I mean, this dude is looking explosive, right? Against the Commanders, we know he had that 70-yard end around, took it to the house. In this game, it was a bubble screen where, I mean, the dude is just so quick, right? He just caught this bubble screen, and the vision, right? Big Trent was out, getting out in front to lead the way, blocking guys. And he's got the vision after the catch. He's explosive. Ray McLeod, man, I want to get him some more touches. I mean, we got so many weapons. It's like there's not enough touches in a game to get all these guys the amount of touches they deserve. But I want to see Ray get the ball more because this kid's been making plays. He's looking explosive. And I think Jay mentioned it, but Kerry Hyder the last couple of weeks has been playing phenomenal ball. Like you guys said, he batted the pass. Drake Jackson got the pick. But not only that, he had some pressures. I don't believe we sacked Jared Stidham in this game, but they were making things difficult for him some of the time. We were putting some heat on him, and he was kind of escaping the pocket and making some plays with his legs. But I know Kerry Hyder, he's been playing some good ball. So I wanted to shout out Big Care. But Jay, what additional observations you got from this game?
Man, I first got to say, like, this game was meant to be played in Vegas. I mean, this was a heavyweight showdown, 12 round, like both teams going back and forth. No, not one team let up. They just kept slugging each other. And obviously there's been a ton of historic fights in Vegas. So I thought it was very fitting and appropriate that this game was in Vegas. We know the rivalry that used to be between these teams based on where the Raiders used to play. And I don't know how you guys feel, but when I was in high school, I went to high school in Oakland, and there weren't too many Niner fans at the high school I went to. So I feel like it was more of a rivalry between the fans than the actual teams. I mean, when you look at the history, they only play like once every 4 years. It's not like, the A's and Giants where they usually played at least once a year. They had one series down.
They used to play in the preseason, Jay.
They did.
They had to knock that out. I'm guessing it's because there was too many fights. I went to one of those games, and there were just fights all over the place. I was a kid at Candlestick, and I'm looking around, and there's like 3 different fights going on. I'm like, is this what goes on at football games?
Yeah, Niners Raiders games, that's what it did. But I mean, when you look at it, the last 5 times we've played, the Niners have won 4 of the last 5. So, I think it's a rivalry based on, proximity, obviously. And now the Raiders are in Vegas, so it isn't really that much. But it was still good to play the Raiders again, that's for sure. I'm sure the next game will be, in Santa Clara. But so that's one thing I wanted that I observed from the game. It's in Vegas. I saw a lot of win-loss predictions for this game. Everyone thought that the Niners are going to just blow out the Raiders. And it's funny that didn't come to fruition, So one other thing I observed, BP, he's got the juice. We actually saw BP, bring this team back from a 10-point lead, and he didn't flinch. Yeah, he made some, questionable decisions, what quarterback doesn't, right? Especially a rookie quarterback. So I like what I saw from BP. Even through his faults, he still made some plays, and we saw it with his legs and throwing balls in the tight windows. So I like that BP didn't flinch, and then we saw him not play comfortably, with the lead. He actually had to bring the team back. So I thought that was cool to see. The secondary was kind of iffy all game. Devontae Adams was balling out, even on our best corner at times. Obviously, we had a lot of penalties in this game too on both sides of the ball. Something I noticed. But then the secondary had 2 interceptions, so it's like, you could argue they won the game on the defensive side of the ball. One other thing, I know I'm listing a lot of stuff, but just one other thing. I like that the offense is actually scoring more than 30 points a game. We don't have to necessarily rely on the defense to don't allow 13, 14 points, right? This offense can actually put up points at a premium. So those are just some of my observations.
I love it. I love it. I love it, man. Yeah, man, just so many things going through my mind, but one thing I will touch on was I love this game. I absolutely loved everything about it from a fan perspective, from Purdy facing adversity before the playoffs. Not just Purdy, but the defense. Like, what's going to happen because I'm looking at it like this. When we get into the playoffs, we're going to be playing these kind of games. Maybe not necessarily 37-34, but every game's going to be close unless we just pull something miraculous and we're just, dominating teams. But I looked at it like, hey, man, we need to see a game like this. This is a good thing. Let's see when Purdy faces a little bit of pressure. Yeah, he's done it in college. The NFL is a different breed. Is he going to stand up to it? He stood up to it. Another thing I was thinking on some of his mistakes or mishaps was, hey, man, there's been plenty of times where Tom Brady did just enough to allow a field goal or to allow the special teams to step on the field and win the game. So, you get people starting to nitpick and tear stuff apart. It's like, hey, man, this kid's a rookie. He took us down more than once. I have a confession to make. This might be the first time ever in my history of ever watching football where I wanted the Raiders to make the field goal to tie it freaking up. I got to confess, man, because I wanted to see what the kid was going to do, and I wanted to see it. And you know what? It happened. He did it. My daughter was sitting there watching the game with me. That was hella cool because she was pointing stuff out that I never look at. I'm looking at the ball. I'm looking at certain things. My daughter's over here like, man, Dad, did you see his whole face going to that guy's butt? Like, she's over here cracking up. So I just thought it was hella cool. I'm like, hold on a minute. Like, what are you looking at, babe? I did not see that at all. So those are some of my observations just from a fan perspective. It was hella cool to watch that kind of a game. And it feels like, this is a wake-up call for our defense. And look what happened when there was a wake-up call versus Kansas City. We went and tore off 9 straight. So it's like it was a good wake-up call, good to face adversity. Plus, we didn't lose. Plus, we still have the number 1 seed in our grasp. We got it done New Year's Day. What a way to bring in the New Year's. Jordan Mason, shout out Mason for his first freaking touchdown. Shout out Danny Gray. I believe, man, he had a good, what was that, a jet sweep or an end around, whatever it was. Danny Gray. So, shout out to those guys. TDP. He had the 1 first down, but he showed it. Great patience on that run. He didn't just go hit it and get stuck and stay there. He kind of, waited and hit that little crease, got the first. It wasn't huge, but you see when you're able to do those things like the TDP or Danny Gray and just getting a little taste of stuff before the playoffs, that means if anything happens, these guys are going to be ready. You don't see the false starts by Danny Gray anymore like earlier in the season. So it just feels like, and then, I will just, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later. I am a little disappointed in Hufanga, though. He is biting the hook just a little too much, but I'm sure we'll get to that later. Yes, sir.
We're about to get to that right now, Kelps, because, you said it, man. The defense did not play up to their standards. And I'm going to ask you guys, why did it happen? But this defense gave up 500 yards, all right? And I went back and I was looking at game logs throughout the whole year. The only other game we gave up even more than 400 yards was against the Chiefs. The Chiefs had like 530 yards from, but no other team put up more than 400 yards. So it's like, man, the Raiders. So I want to ask you guys, like, the defense was not on their A game. And I sent out a tweet, man. I think that this Niners defense spent New Year's Eve at Sapphire, the Sapphire Lounge out there in Vegas. They're there till 3 a.m. popping bottles. At least that's how it looked to me. But hey, fellas, what'd you think about the defense, and how did they let Jared Stidham? And we do got to mention Josh Jacobs is a hell of a running back. Josh Jacobs, Nick Bosa said in the post game that was the best running back that he's ever played against in his NFL career. So Josh Jacobs did look good. He's elusive. He was powerful. But still, Jared Stidham, fellas, what did you see from this defense?
I think there's a number of things. Oh, yeah. Hey, you could go ahead, Jay. It's been a minute.
Kels, please.
All right, man. I'll start it off by giving credit to the Raiders for a couple of reasons. First, it's like when you get that new blood, typically you get a spark. You get people riled up. It's something new. Here comes Jared Stidham. Hey, man, Kyle Shanahan said it in the presser before the game. This kid could make all the throws that Derek Carr could make, and a lot of people were like, quit lying, Shanahan, yada, yada. Hey, he showed it. He showed that he's smart, he's gutsy, he can make the throws. And then props to the Raiders for having a good game plan. It reminded me lightweight of the Chargers, where the Chargers just had a good game plan. We won that game, but it was just, it was a nail biter. And I hate to think about that game because there was a lot of freaking field goals, and I'm just glad we're not doing that anymore, even though there was a couple in this one. But so props to the Raiders. First off, got to give them credit. And yeah, man, Hufanga bit a few times, man. And I instantly tweeted out, hey, you cannot be making rookie mistakes this late in the season. Man, you just got to get that sharpened up. I don't know if he needs to be put in a better situation as far as D'Amico Ryan's putting him in a situation to where he's not guessing, but maybe like, hey, on this play, you're going to be here. On this, it's either blitz or don't blitz. It feels like he's getting put in positions to make certain decisions, and the league might be catching up maybe to some of his tendencies, or he's just guessing wrong. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's easily corrected. And yeah, man, that's one of them. And then the middle was being wide open, on that defensive line. It feels like, Stidham was able to step up into that pocket a lot more times than we would like. Yeah, man, those were some of, one thing I do want to say though, is I did see someone throw up a stat where they showed the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, and another all-time great defense in history. And each one of those great defenses, there was that they had one or two games each one of those years where they gave up, where they had games like this. So it happens. We just had 8 freaking outstanding games in a row. It was bound to happen. I hope it happened this time, and we don't see that in the playoffs. I'll just leave it at that.
Facts, Jay. What you thinking?
Man, I'm thinking that the Niners and Raiders play on what was it? New Year's Eve in Vegas, Sin City. I mean, that's a great atmosphere if you're an adult, lots of partying. Obviously the players didn't partake in that, but I think kind of like what Nick Bosa said, they underestimated the Raiders. Let's face it, the Raiders have been a dysfunctional franchise, the last basically since they went to the Super Bowl, in 2002. I think they've only been to the playoffs like twice since then. So, the Bosa said it himself. They underestimated them. And he said Josh Jacobs is, one of the best running backs he's ever faced, as Bay Area Baller mentioned. But got to give credit to the silver and black, man. I mean, they showed up. They weren't gonna. It was either one or two outcomes. Either they were gonna pout because Carr was told to go home, or they were gonna still be professionals and play the game like it's their last snap, and that's exactly what they did. The latter, they played like it was their last snap, and I was impressed with the Raiders. They obviously, we know they have weapons. We knew that going into the game, but I kept hearing before the game that Jarrett Stidham, he's a statue in the pocket. Our defensive line is just going to, make him run crazy. And Jarrett Stidham is mobile. I don't know how y'all feel, but he's mobile. He had 7 carries, 34 yards, and those were all unplanned runs. So obviously that's something that the 49ers defense kind of struggles with. I mean, you look at we lost to Chicago. They had a mobile quarterback. There's some other, obviously we lost to the Chiefs. They got a mobile quarterback. So those are much more difficult assignments for our defense. And Stidham, he made plays. He made some good throws. Like I said before, Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacobs, he's a strong runner, physical. He's shifty too. I mean, I think he had 2,000 yards from scrimmage this season. He's only the second player to ever do that in Raiders history. I think him and Marcus Allen. So, cha-ching for Josh Jacobs. I think he's an unrestricted free agent this offseason. So, but yeah. Also, I thought Stidham, what I noticed was he got rid of the ball quickly, like less than 3 seconds. And obviously that'll negate a pass rush. And also that makes the secondary, obviously they're not going to have enough time to cover and react when he's able to just get rid of the ball quickly. Lack of consistent pressure from the D line. We didn't record a sack. I think we had at least 10 QB hits. So we were hitting them, but he was getting rid of the ball quick. So also the penalties, man, that Fred Warner 3rd and 12 face mask. That was ugly. That could have, like,
it wasn't necessary.
It wasn't necessary. There were other guys coming. Like, it's never a good. What did he really think he would stretch out his arm and like tackle him with one arm? Like, I don't know. And then literally the next play, the Raiders throw a touchdown pass. So yeah, I think the penalties, the lack of discipline on defense with Huff, it's like every game we see this. Like, it looked like I'm gonna just call it the specific play. He was guarding Waller. Waller ran a little corner route. It looked to me like he was in man coverage. So I guess if you're in man coverage, why are you looking at the quarterback? You need to be looking at Waller, or you can do both. But Waller isn't like a slow tight end. Waller is an elite athlete. He's fast. So I guess Huff, we've seen it like once a game. It just happens where he doesn't make the right decision. And Demo Lenore, I think it's safe to say he can be a liability if we can't get to the quarterback. That's for sure. Has he made strides this year? Yes. Has he gotten better? No doubt. But I think he can be a liability at times, especially if there's penalties coming his way. And even Mooney Ward has had some penalties the last few games. So I think we just got to button it up on defense, and we can't take these Cardinals lightly either, because we have a chance to go 6-0 in the division. I don't remember the last time we did that. So those are my concerns.
I do want to touch on the Hufanga one. This is why I said I think the league is catching up to him a little bit, because on that play, it was 3rd and 2, and they did play action and immediately drew it up to attack him. Because if you look at that play, all he did was take 1 step forward and it was a wrap. It was man coverage. I kind of dissected that play. So I'm glad you brought it up. And then I know I talked about it, but because it was 3rd and 2, they said, hey, we bet Hufanga's going to bite. And it's like they knew he was going to do it. That's just what it looked like to me. And he did. And we got burnt. And then I did want to speak on Lenore. Part of me has to remember, hey, when he got beat by one of the tight ends, that man is a lot bigger than Lenore. And then when he was getting beat by, arguably a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, this is why I say give credit to the Raiders, because Waller, top 5, Adams, top 3, Jacobs, top, 3. You start getting in that category, you have to give them credit. Lenore, he's not a top 10. He's not a top 20. I think for who Lenore is, one thing that I'm like one thing that I'm encouraged about Lenore, it reminds me of Ambry Thomas last year. He was still in perfect position. I mean, he couldn't get no closer. So it's like, hey, dude, if you're getting beat by a dude who's top 3 and you're wherever you're ranked, hey man, as long as he's showing heart, he's not as long as he's not getting mentally beat, like you just see him 3 feet from a play or something and he just missed an assignment. It was a bonehead, you know, he was in position. So Lenore's going to be fine. Funga, I think he's going to get it straightened out, or D'Amico's going to put him in better positions to succeed. I did hear someone mention, hey, should we switch up Jimmy Ward and Hufanga maybe on certain downs? Should we kind of do a little role reversal there? Who knows what we got brewing when it's full-blown go time in the playoffs, but definitely some things to sharpen up on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Celts, and that's why I left G-Rod's comment up here. I've been seeing a lot of this sentiment on Twitter. You know, I read Lenore might be benched. He's getting burned too much, and I was thinking the same thing what you said, Celts, because I wouldn't say Lenore's getting burnt because he's in good position. Even that ball Devontae Adams caught late into the fourth, the big chunk play, which I know the comments agree with me. I didn't think it was a catch. There weren't too many angles to give us probably the best angle we needed, but I thought that ball was kind of laying on the ground with Devontae trying to hold it with his forearm. I don't know. So I thought Lenore, he's in the right spot. He just has to play the ball better at the catch point. So like he's doing half his job, but he's just got to get that second half of making the PBU, which is the pass breakup when that ball's coming in. And so my analysis defensively, I thought there was 3 players that underperformed. All right. One of them was Diamador Lenore. One of them was Hufanga, like you guys have touched on. Hufanga, in my opinion, gave up 2 touchdown passes in that game. We know on that first drive, he got caught looking in the backfield. I think he thought it was a run. I believe that was a 3rd and short or 2nd and short. So he was thinking it's 3rd and 2. He was thinking it's going to be a run. And next thing you know, a Waller acts like he's going to block you. And then he takes off. And once Waller gets a step on Hufanga, he's not keeping up with Waller. Waller's one of the fastest tight ends in the league. So that was one. The other one was the busted coverage where Devontae Adams, Stidham kind of slipped out to the left, rolled left, and then Devontae kind of leaked up the field and no one was around him. I think that was on Hufanga too. You know, Rich Madrid, who knows more about X's and O's than I do, also thought it was on Hufanga. Thought he should have picked up Devontae Adams as he was running up that seam.
Yep.
I think it was on Huff to carry him.
That's the greatness of Huff. It's like he's very instinctual. So he saw Stidham look like he may run. So his instincts told him, oh, I got to go after the ball carrier. But then he needs to have that also, like the other side. Like he's got the angel is, hey, I need to go after the ball carrier. And then the devil on his other side is like, hey, man, you got to worry about Adams, the best wide receiver on the field. He's going to streak, and you're the last line of defense. You're at the safety. So that's where I think Huff gets caught up with. He wants to make the big play. He wants to hit the ball carrier. I get it. But you also have to remember your other responsibility. And that's, hey, don't get beat deep. You are the safety. I like what Terradome said. He says Huff is down with OOP, out of position. So Huff is definitely going to have to get better.
You done with OPP?
He's going to have to get better.
You know me. No doubt. So I was touching on the 3 players I thought that underperformed. We said Huff, Lenore. My third guy might be a bit surprising, but I did not think this was Fred Warner's best game.
Whoa.
Like Jay mentioned.
Blasphemy.
I know. Like Jay mentioned, I mean, that face mask penalty was it was upsetting because it was frustrating because it did feel like there were other Niners there rallying to the ball. It wasn't necessary. Like he went for a hero tackle when, you know, he's got his buddies next to him that were ready to make the play. And it wasn't only that it was either the first drive or the second drive for the Niners, but for the Raiders.
That would have been a 3 and out. That would have been a 3 and out if he didn't commit that penalty. So that was huge.
Yes. Yeah, and the Raiders ended up scoring on that drive, if I remember
I
correctly.
think it was like
Yeah, we
literally the next play.
exactly what Bosa said, man. We underestimated him, and you could tell when you underestimate somebody, there should always be a full game plan for Devontae Adams. There should be someone on him. No, you should never. He should never just be running for. There's got to be someone on him at all times. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, we were. We were underestimated for sure, or we underestimated them for sure, man.
And
Yeah.
as you mentioned, Kelts, he is a top 3, wide receiver. He showed it yesterday, and he's just going to make some plays. As you guys illustrated, Lenore was in good position, but hey, sometimes the better player makes the best play, and that's kind of what it came down to. And I also like what Terradome said that Fred Warner, he did have that PI call in the end zone as well. I think he was covering Waller, I think, on a play, but it was obvious defensive pass interference. But these guys are defenders. They went up against some of the best players at their position, and they proved it yesterday. And Stidham looked good. Stidham had the juice yesterday. Couldn't come up with the win, but he definitely earned my respect. I underestimated him as well as a hell of a lot of other Niner fans, but he showed up and showed out, and he makes great decisions off the field as well. There's no doubt about that.
I heard that. And I'm just going to finish up on what I saw from Fred Warner because there was a jet sweep that the Raiders faked. And Warner, he bit so hard, he was going all the way off to the side. And then this is when Devontae Adams got wide open on this over route. Warner was supposed to be dropping back, kind of covering the deep part of the field, dropping back into zone coverage, but he bit so hard on that jet sweep that Adams was wide. There was no one within 10 yards of Adams when he caught that ball. So, hey, we give Fred Warner a lot of props, rightfully so. He's the best linebacker in the NFL. But I just didn't think that was one of his best performances against the Raiders. Let's see what we got coming up next. We kind of touched on this a little bit. Here, but we're talking Diamador Lenore, right? Is he a liability? Should he be benched? I want to ask you guys. Why don't we start out with Kelts? How would you handle this situation with Lenore? I think I know your answer, but let me know.
I mean, who are you going to bench him for? We're going to throw Womack over there. We're going to throw Thomas over there. Then we're going to see Thomas or Womack get beat on a play or so, and we're going to be saying the same thing. Not one of these guys are going to be perfect. Even Kavarius, or Mooney Ward, man. Even he's not going to be perfect, man. There were times Deion Sanders got burnt. As long as we're not continuously seeing it. And hey, I appreciate you, Matthew Myers, for you being the first brave soul to let me know that my mic is cracking. I've noticed it. I got to do something about it. Maybe it's my Walmart version interface. I don't know. But hey, I appreciate you, Eminem, my man. Hey, I do want to say, man, shout out to everybody in the chat, whether you're on Baller's channel, Jay and the Bay's channel, my channel. Hey, man, I'm pretty sure the link in the descriptions are or the links to the channels are in the description to all of our channels. So show some love. If you're on my channel, go hit up Jay and the Bay and vice versa and spread that love, man. Yeah, man. So I think we're going to stick with what we've been doing the whole year. I don't see no reason to swap unless, we had Sauce Gardner coming to the over to that side or something like that. That might be a different story, but you're not going to switch it up this late in the year. You're not going to go and put Womack or Thomas over there, when they haven't, unless Thomas really is better and we just been playing games, which I highly doubt. So yeah, man, he'll figure it out. He's doing all right. Hey, besides this game, we were talking about how well Lenore has been doing. So let's just pump the brakes on, seeing one game and getting all juiced up about him sitting on the bench. Huff and Lenore's going to figure it out. Watch.
I think Lenore's made some good plays. He's also gotten beat, but he has been relatively in good position. And like Bay Area Baller said, he just has to make a play on the ball. Even Mooney Ward, that play in the end zone where Devontae Adams caught a touchdown over him, looked like Ward just mistimed his jump. Like he was perfect position. He just jumped too early. Adams just soared over him and caught it. So hey, these are guys, these are professionals too. They get paid to make plays, and that's what they did yesterday. I mean, who do you guys want to sign? You want Josh Norman? Oh, actually, I think he just got signed by the Carolina Panthers. So Josh Norman can't come and save the day. We got the Jackrabbit. He's been on the practice squad. I think he's been active for one game, but let's be real. If there was a light years better player, if it was the Jack Rabbit, if he still had that juice like he had in New Orleans, obviously he would be out there starting over Lenore. So I guess we'll see what happens. If D'Amico feels there's another guy better, it'll be Womack or it'll be Ambry Thomas. Man, it's too bad that Dante Island tore his ACL, because I know the chat and all the Niner Empire would be begging to see Dante Johnson in there opposite of Sammy Womack. Opposite of Mooney Ward. So I just think Demo's the best option we got right now. And if it's not, hey, we'll see another corner in.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. No, I don't think Lenore should be benched. Although, heading into the last game of the season, I do kind of want to see some Jackrabbit out there just to see what he's got. But hey, we're playing to win the game, like Herm Edwards once said in that infamous press conference. So we're rolling with Lenore. And one thing I will say about Lenore, yeah, he's been in good positions, but man, both him and Charvarius Ward play the run phenomenally well for cornerbacks. Both of them will stick their nose in and get their nose dirty and hit some of these guys carrying the ball. So moving on, the number 1 seed is still attainable. Brian Daboll said, I think it was after the game yesterday, a media member asked him, hey, you guys going to rest anybody? Anybody need to rest up? Because they've locked up their position in the NFC playoffs. And Daboll said, no, we're not resting nobody. So that's a good sign for Niners fans. Now, they do have a tough matchup, obviously, going against the Philadelphia Eagles when we're talking about the New York Giants. I believe when I checked, the Eagles are 14-point favorites in this game. Like, whoa. That seems a bit too high for two playoff teams, especially within their own division and NFC East matchup. Thought that spread was, I don't know what Vegas knows. Sometimes Vegas, they got that inside info. But what do you guys think? You guys think the Niners got a legit chance at the 1 seed? Obviously, that would mean the Giants have to beat the Eagles. And don't give me your pick yet, because we got our pick'ems coming up, and you best believe that game's on there. But I just want to hear your thoughts. It's just kind of crazy that the Niners have a shot at the 1 seed still. Kels.
Man, we were 3-4, right? We were 3-4, man. And, me and Jay, I believe we're talking about, who gets the props to this turnaround, CMC, John Lynch, and I went with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs woke us up. And look, man, 9 straight, first time it's been done since 1997. The highest mark for Shanahan in his career. We did it in 2019. We had 8 straight. I just think it's great, man. It's my season prediction. I almost hate to say I feel like I'm gloating or something, but I'm not. But hey, my prediction was 16-4. I made the prediction in May. I said 16-4, Buffalo 49ers Super Bowl. And it's funny, it feels like 2-3 weeks later, Frank Gore went out and was like 49ers, Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I was like, see, hey, I might, it's an easy pick. I mean, they're two of the best rosters in the NFL. But I had a mustard seed of faith left that my prediction would still be alive right now when we were 3-4. I didn't see us winning 9 straight. I thought we could do something similar to the 7-2 like we did last year, but this is an incredible season. And to do it with Brock Purdy, man, no Elijah Mitchell. I mean, all the adversity. We could go back to the beginning of the year, Kittle was out a little bit. Trent Williams, Debo's contract, Trey versus Jimmy. You just added all up, man, and it's been phenomenal, man. This has been maybe one of the best years I've ever been a part of as a fan, and obviously doing a show with you guys. So I think there was no better time to, cover the Niners if that's what it's considered. What we're doing, we're covering them. So, hey, man, it's been phenomenal, man. This turnaround has been great. Yeah, we're there. We're coming for that number 1 seed, and it's crazy to think about it like that. Yeah, Vegas, the NFL. I don't know. That is too much. Too much regardless, because I mean, even the worst team versus the best team in the NFL. I mean, what was the biggest spread throughout the whole year? I'm really not, educated on that front, on spreads and whatnot, but that seems like one of the highest ones, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a 17-point spread was probably the highest that I can remember seeing, and this is 14, so it's right up there.
Tripping.
Jay,
Yeah, I think
what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think the number 1 seed is definitely obtainable. I think the Eagles have lost, I think their last 2 games, I believe. The Eagles have, and obviously they've been without Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, who suffered the shoulder injury. So obviously, hey, I hope he's back and ready and healthy for the playoffs. We'll see what happens, but yeah, the Giants, I think they don't want to lay down to a division opponent. They don't want to give the Eagles, better positioning in the playoffs. That's a division rival, so they're going to play, like Dayball said, they're going to play their starters. I don't know how long they'll play, but I think they'll definitely start. And Niners are in a perfect position to go not only 6-0 in the division, but also if the Giants win, then we'll be able to get that number 1 seed. You have to come through Santa Clara, the hard streets of Santa Clara, to get to that Super Bowl title if you in the NFC, man. So yeah, I mean, and what a time to be a 49ers fan. Obviously all the storylines that the 49ers have had this season. It's been a roller coaster type season if you've been a 49er fan, and it seems like we're peaking at the right time. And I think if the Eagles lose, I heard something crazy. If the Eagles lose, I think they could potentially be like the 5th seed in the NFC. That's what I heard.
Really?
Yeah, if they lose, there could be a way where if the Eagles lose and the other teams who are already, in the top 5 win, then the Eagles could fall all the way back to the 5th. That's what I've heard. We'd have to actually pull up the NFC playoff position or playoff picture, but that's what I've heard. There's all these different types of scenarios. But that is one scenario. If the Eagles do lose, there's a possibility they could be, the 5th seed. So we'll see what happens. But I think the 49ers will play their starters. They're going to play everyone against Arizona. I think that would make sense. Obviously, I think Aaron Banks won't play. Dre Greenlaw, I wouldn't play him if I wouldn't. I would just let him sit. But yeah, we're in perfect position to get that number 1. Hopefully the Eagles lose.
Yeah, hopefully the Eagles lose. While we're on that injury subject, has there been any updates on Aaron Banks? I thought I heard speculation that it's an MCL.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anything you guys heard on Dre Greenlaw?
I haven't heard anything on Greenlaw. With Banks, they just said, I think Shanahan just said he's going to be out for the game. He hasn't said if it's an MCL sprain, and it sucks if it is, because that means the season is most likely over. Because Elijah Mitchell had that same injury twice, and he's been 6 to 8 weeks. And Banks has been playing pretty well. He's been consistent. He's been great on that offensive line. At that left guard spot. So it would suck for him and the 49ers that his season will be over if he has an MCL sprain. But we do have the old reliable Daniel Brunskill, who can do it all along the offensive line. So at least we have some depth along that offensive line.
Daddy Brunskill, man. Too bad he couldn't be facing Aaron Donald every single game. But unfortunately, it's not our fault. I see in the chat talking about our schedule is weak. Hey, it's not our fault that the Rams I hate using the word garbage and trash. It's not our fault that the Rams had a meltdown this year. The Cardinals had a meltdown. There was a lot of teams that were supposed to be playoff type teams that we faced. Hey, we held our end of the bargain. Stuff in the NFL happens, injuries, adversity. We stood up to the test. The Broncos weren't able to do it. They were supposed to be a good team. The Rams, Cardinals. I know there's a few other ones in there, but hey, man, that's what makes a great team. Adversity is going to hit all these teams, and we've withstood everything that has come our way, and it's remarkable. I want to appreciate Terradome in the comments as well for just the prayers and all that. And anytime I see the the mighty name of Jesus up in the comments, it fires me up, man. Because I'm a big time believer, and I just believe in prayers and in the mighty name of Jesus. Real talk, prayers to Hamlin for sure, continuously. So I just want to say I appreciate you for expressing your heart in the chat. Real talk, man.
I wanted to mention also, and well said, Kelch Chronicles. I wanted to mention also that Shanahan talked about CMC, and he had a possible ankle sprain. And for the past 6 weeks, I would say that CMC has been on the injury report. He's been limited basically day to day. But we don't. Let's be real. We don't really need CMC to practice. Like if he knows the plays, he knows the game plan for the week, he'll be fine. But I think that's something to monitor with him having a minor ankle sprain. At least it's not a high ankle sprain. I didn't see when he suffered that during the game, but it could have been the adrenaline. And the next day, maybe there was something there. So Shanahan did mention that today. But hey, I like what someone said in the comments. Let's see more JP Mason. Let's see more TDP. And hey, let's give CMC a break this week for sure.
Scott Hill came by and said, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Scott? Thanks for coming by."
What up, man?
Hey, before we get to our pick'ems, and everyone watching, hit that like first, all right? Hit that like for us, whatever channel you're watching on. Let's get those likes up. And let's talk about this 49ers Cardinals game coming up. I know DeAndre Hopkins missed the game with the knee injury. The Cardinals lost yesterday to the Atlanta Falcons in a tightly contested ball game, 20-19. Cardinals are rolling with David Blau. And I was looking at his statistics. He threw the ball 40 times. I didn't watch that Cardinal game yesterday, but David Blau completed 24 of 40 passing attempts for 222 yards. So it sounds like they were dinking and dunking, going with some kind of quick passing game offense. That's the analysis I can give you from looking at the statistics. James Conner's, when he's on the field, I think he's a good back. James Conner's a good player. They do have Hollywood Brown, who's an explosive, speedy receiver. Greg Dortch is a nice little slot guy. And they got a rookie tight end. I want to say it's McBride. He's got some talent. So it's not like the 49ers can't just go in with the mentality, hey, just show up and it's an automatic win. It's just not how it works in the NFL. And oh boy, we got a tight Warriors Atlanta Hawks game going on right now. What's going on in the background?
I've seen that 44 out of throw it up.
Woo! Man.
Let's get it, Clay.
Fellas,
let's go.
What are you thinking about this Niners Cardinals game? It's early. This is a way too early preview, but just give me some of your thoughts on it.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar game with the Raiders. I thought there was a little bit like credit to the Raiders on what they did, with the game plan. But I also think we took it a little more easier, or we took it easier on offense and defense. I believe we kind of did that. We're playing our starters, obviously. I think that was kind of part of the game plan to just ease up, to not get nobody injured. And, but the thing that kind of sucks about doing that is sometimes that's when injuries do happen. When you play softer, when you ease up. I see it a lot of times where guys are going super hard into traffic, into holes, and it feels like injuries come once you make that initial hit, sometimes you see guys kind of ease up, and that's when stuff kind of happens sometimes. Like, hey, stay flex, stay strong all the way. Maybe 100% of the time you're on the field, don't ever ease up, man, because that's times when something could happen. Shoot, we seen Jimmy Garoppolo running out of bounds, and it looked like once he knew he was out of bounds, he eased up, tore his ACL. It just, I don't know what it is. And I know it's hard mentally to perfectly stay like that, but to get back on track, I think we're going to see a similar type of game like we've seen versus the Raiders. More that has to do with just maybe staying healthy. Maybe Shanahan even possibly wants to see a closer game, regardless of what they say in the pressers. You're going to hear every single one of the players, oh, we want to dominate every single tiny piece. I understand that. But there's also a flip side. And the flip side is maybe, to be primed for the playoffs, it'd be good to see another kind of close game, in my opinion. I know other opinions could say they would want to see us win 49-0 and firing on all cylinders, but I think it could be close, man. And who knows, if we will be resting some players on healthy scratches and stuff like that. So we're going to find out. But the number one seed, man, it's a fine line. It's a tough way. We've heard Shanahan say quite a few times where he's represented, probably giving it all gas. So we'll see how it plays out.
I don't think there's any shot, in my opinion, that starters are being rested, because even if the Eagles win, we want to lock in that 2 seed.
Bang bang.
Right.
Bang bang.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been watching the Hard Knocks with the Arizona Cardinals, and it's on HBO. And I know it's blasphemy to say this as an adversary of the Cardinals, but I almost feel kind of bad for them, man. They're definitely not having the season that they wanted. Kyler got hurt, tore his ACL. They're having issues with their organization from top to bottom. But we'll see.
Buda Baker's out for the year.
Yeah. I think JJ Watt's going to play his last game. He's going to. Yeah. I bet you he's going to play lights out. I bet you.
Hey, that could be something that could kind of cultivate the team. They might play, with some extra incentive, knowing that it's potentially JJ Watt's last game. Suiting it up,
and you never want to lose to a division rival, and teams, especially teams that aren't. They really don't have anything to play for. They have pride as professionals, and they don't want to get blown out. So I think they're going to bring all they have, and hopefully this was a wake-up call for the defense, at least, Nick Bosa. Hey, we shouldn't underestimate an opponent, even, excuse me. Excuse me. Even an opponent that has what, a third or fourth string quarterback. So but yeah, like I think Kels could be right. This could be a close nip tuck game from kickoff up until the end of the game, or the 49ers can pounce on them and blow them out, kind of like what we did in Mexico City. So we'll see what happens, but I think obviously the 49ers are the more talented team and they should pull this out. So the 49ers definitely should win. On the Cardinals, obviously James Conner is a pretty good running back. Got to block JJ Watt. We'll see if DeAndre Hopkins plays. If he does, that'll be a matchup to watch between him and Mooney Ward again. But yeah, I think and Barrier Baller mentioned some of the other weapons as well in AZ. So looking forward to the game, but the 49ers should be able to win and to wrap up that number 2 seed.
No doubt. And I spoke of David Blau earlier. Colt McCoy could be back. Colt McCoy, he had a concussion 2 or 3 weeks ago, but he did not play this past game because he was still experiencing some symptoms. If those clear up, then we could see Colt McCoy. And Colt McCoy shocked us a couple years ago when he came. And, I thought 49ers would come in and win that game, but Colt McCoy had other plans. So this team did not forget about that. And whether it's Colt McCoy, David Blau, I expect this Niners team to be prepared, especially with that wake-up call they got in this previous game against the Raiders. But hey, fellas, you know what time it is. So last topic of the show. We do it every week. The straight out of the bay pick 'em a lot of these games have playoff implications, right? Because I know the NFC. Oh, we're going to overtime. Dante DiVincenzo just stroked one to send it into OT. Back to the Niners.
Did you make your picks last week, Baller? I did not.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. My bad. I was
It's
out.
all
I
good.
was out sick, and I didn't get no picks in. But I'm feeling better, and I'm glad to be here talking ball with you guys. And so I
I
know
just
in the
wanted to.
NFC, if the Packers win, they're in. All right. If the Packers lose and the Seahawks win, the Seahawks are in. All right. If the Lions beat the Packers and the Seahawks lose to the Rams, the Lions are in. So that's a little playoff scenario for you, tying it into our pick 'em, because we're starting it off with the Giants versus the Eagles. And I'm wearing my Giants hat and maybe baseball, but hey, works the same because I think we're all New York Giants fans this week. Fellas, Giants and Eagles, what you got?
I got the G-men. Hopefully Saquon Barkley can run for about 250 yards, and who knows? I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to play. I just don't think so. So I'm taking the G-men.
Wow. Kelts.
Yeah, man, I gotta go with the G-men, right? I mean, I'm not asking, but it's like, hey, man, I gotta go with it. Man, we got to keep these vibes, trucking in the right direction. And by the way, hey, that's a pretty dope hat. I've never seen it before, Baller. I don't know if that's an old one, a new one, but it's clean. Is that Barry Bonds on there sliding, stealing bases?
That's Barry Bonds.
That's Barry freaking man. We're making
That's
hits
dope.
like hey, we're making hits like Barry and we're scoring like Jerry. I love it, man. Bro, I gotta go the G-men. Come on, G-men. Come on, Saquon. Come on, Daniel Jones. Get it done, son. Get it done.
Hey, while I will be pulling for the New York Giants, I think Philly's going to win this game. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to play. And I mean, the Eagles, I think they thought in their own minds that they had the bye already locked up.
Gonna be
So
rusty,
I think
Baller.
Hurts. I think Hurts. I think Hurts is going to be back for this one. I hope I'm wrong, but I think Philly's going to pull it out. I mean, that's just what I think. So let's go on to the second game. Playoff implications on the line. It's the Lions versus the Packers. This one's in Green Bay. Let's start out with Kelts. Kelts, you know what? Actually, let me start it off, Kelts. Let me start it off.
Yeah.
You take a minute to think about it because I'm going with the Detroit Lions. Rolling with the Lions. Dan Campbell, he's going to be jacked up. He's got his smelling salts ready to roll. He's yelling at anybody walking by that's near him. And I think the Lions are going to be fired up. I think they're going to go in, and I think they're going to win this game on the road.
I almost started ripping some paper up. I almost wanted to slap something off my table just thinking about the salts and all the
bite some kneecaps.
I freaking love it, man. I love it. Yeah, man. All right, hey, just because of that, man, I'm going with the freaking Lions, man. Just because of the kneecaps, man. I'm going the Lions. It's hard to see it happening in Green Bay. The Lions play in the dome and feel like, Lions just always find a way to never get there. And then I almost kind of want Green Bay in some way because it feels like we dominate them. But I think it was 3-4 weeks ago. I was like, watch, the Lions are going to be the last one in. So I'm going to stick with it. It's the Lions.
Man, the NFL has scheduled this game on Sunday Night Football prime time. And it's going to be in the frozen tundra, but I think it's going to be a warm, probably about 20 degrees when the game kicks off. That's warm out there. Yeah, that's warm out there. It's freezing over here, but it's warm out there, 20 degrees. But man, the Lions have been looking pretty good. They're on a hot streak. Jared Goff has been playing pretty well. They can run the ball. Obviously, Dan Campbell has changed the culture for that locker room and that squad. But I'm still going with Aaron Rodgers. So taking the Packers.
Okay, I heard that. All right, game number 3, playoff implications. Rams and Seahawks. Well, Jay, why don't we just kick it with you? We'll go right back to you. Rams, Seahawks. You know this NFC West. What you thinking here?
A NFC West matchup. Clearly hate both of these teams. The game's going to be in Seattle. Man, I kind of want the Rams to win, so that way the Seahawks can't go to the playoffs. So I'm gonna take the Rams on the road to beat Geno Smith and the Chewer. Taking the Rams.
Kelts looks torn right now. Kelts looks torn.
Man, I want to flip something, man. And it's in Seattle, right? Or it's in LA?
Yes.
It's in Seattle.
Seattle.
Who knows what that even means anymore? But yeah, man, I'm gonna go Seattle just because I was just gonna flip a coin. But yeah, I'll go Seattle. I don't want to pick either one of these teams, but it's gonna be a tie, man. It's gonna be a tie. It's gonna be like 6-6. 4 whopping field goals.
Oh, I wonder what that does to the playoff scenario. The guy I was watching breaking it down did not account for any ties. So that would be interesting. I'm hoping the Rams win because I've already predicted the Lions to beat Green Bay. And if the Rams pull it off, that would mean the Detroit Lions are going to the playoffs. For some reason, I just kind of want that to happen. But that being said, I'm picking to win the game, and I think the Seahawks are going to pull it out. So I'm going with the Hawks. Now, this last matchup is the Jets, who have been eliminated from playoff contention, going up against the Dolphins, who have been scuttering lately. Sounds like Tua is not playing. I think I heard that today. They came out and said that Tua will not play in this game. It's either going to be Teddy Bridgewater, who couldn't finish the game this past weekend, did something. He hit his hand on a helmet, so his hands
broke his finger.
Got a broken finger. You just heard it from Jay in the Bay. So I don't know who's going to be quarterbacking the team for the Dolphins' perspective. But shoot, I'm gonna let you guys pick your team. I got to think about this one. Jay, well, give me a minute. I don't even know who I'm picking yet. Jay, who you got?
Well, the game is in South Beach. The Jets really don't have much to play for. The Fins, man, I mean, they just haven't been the same since they got molly-whopped by the Niner Empire. They just have not been the same. Feel sorry for Tua, man. I mean, those head injuries, nothing to play with. Just got to hope he makes the best decision for him and his family long-term in the future. But I'm going to take Rob Saleh and the Jets to win in South Beach.
Yeah, what an interesting matchup, man. You know, 2 former 49ers. You got the brain versus, I almost just for some dumb reason just said it Pinky versus the brain, but you know that's not a good comparison.
Maybe the bull.
Yeah, you got the brain, you got the bull. You know,
how about the brain versus the bald?
The brain versus the bald. There it is. Hey, the brain versus the bald, the shiny head, man. You know, man, this is tough. You know, like Jay said, nothing to really play for. Dolphins, last game at home, maybe. Yeah, I'll go with the Dolphins on this one, just because of being at home.
Yeah, you guys gave me some time to think about it, which I appreciate. I'm going to roll with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins got to win to make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And I think McDaniel's going to find a way to scheme it up with whether Teddy's playing with a bad hand, or I'm blanking on the quarterback who just played. I got to look it up because otherwise it's going to bug me. But I think McDaniel's going to scheme it up, get the ball to Waddle, get the ball to Tyreek Hill. Obviously, Raheem Mostert's still looking explosive. And for those reasons, I'm rolling with the Dolphins. Okay, I got their quarterback right here. Sorry, it was bugging me.
Hey, and just real quick, hey Jay, did you pick the Packers or Lions?
I picked the Packers.
Packers.
Yeah.
Jay went Packers. Skylar Thompson. There it is. That's bugging me. So it might be Skylar Thompson who we see in this game. Whatever it is, I think McDaniel's going to scheme it up and get these weapons the ball into some space. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Hey, fellas, that's all the topics I got for you guys. So unless you guys got something you want to toss out there and we can chop it up or give some final thoughts, we're ready to wrap this thing up.
Just got to say a huge shout out to everyone who tuned in tonight, whether you're watching on Kilts, Bay Area Baller, Jay, or Straight Out of the Bay. We appreciate all the support, and it's always great to have a lively chat. We appreciate all the people who commented during the show, and looking forward to 49ers wrapping up the season or the regular season next week versus the Cardinals at home, and it should be a victory. And appreciate everyone for tuning in, and just appreciate the support.
Absolutely, man. It's been, just to touch on what Jay is saying, it's been a ride. What a season to start something new straight out of the Bay. Who knows how long it'll go for, but we picked a good freaking year to do it. I was almost thinking like, man, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like we haven't even done it that many times. But hey, we're heading into week 17.
Yeah.
I was like scratching my head, like, man, did we really do 16 shows? Or did we start week 2? I was like trying to think back. Did we start week 1? When did we exactly start? It doesn't feel like we've done 15 shows, but it's hella cool. I'm glad, we were able to pull this thing together and, start straight out of the Bay. It's just hella cool. I look forward to it every Monday. Props to everybody in the chat, just like Jay said. We're going to be here every Monday, man, at 8:15, right after Monday Night Football. Continued prayers for Hamlin and his family. It's hard, man. It's hard. One thing I do want to say, I touched earlier about my daughter, being multiple times, being in a medically induced coma and whatnot. But whether you're in the hospital for 24 hours, or in our case, we were there for 8 straight months. And it's hard to even imagine that. It's hard to even go back and even think about that. But the hardest times is that initial time. Those first 24 hours, those first 48 hours, man, it is hard, man. It's hard on the family. So just, hopefully we don't know them personally, but, I'm just sending out the positive vibes and prayers that whoever is connected to them and the doctor's hands and the doctor's minds that are working and doing what they're doing, that it's all just done proper. And that, yeah, man, just prayers to him and his family for sure. I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, well said. Well said. I just wanted to mention, we did start the show week 1 on your channel, Kelts. So we've done it for 17 weeks. So yeah, time flies, man. But like you said, man, I look forward to us meeting every Monday. Can't wait.
No doubt, fellas. Hey, great show. Had a blast. 49ers, let's get this win against the Cardinals. Close out the regular season strong. And then, hey, we'll be back hopefully with our boy Amin the Dream, who's on vacay. Amin, if you're watching, I hope you're having a great vacation.
Hey,
so shout out to Amin, fellas. Can't wait to talk to you guys, because you already know this show's continuing on throughout this Niner playoff run.
Absolutely.
So, hey, once again, thanks for coming by. Shout out to the chat. And, hey, catch us next week.
Faithful, right?